everyone. Welcome to Autumn is Here. I'm your host, Francine Crawford, and we're going to welcome today a caregiver that was a caregiver to both of her parents. Today, we're going to talk about how challenging it can be and how unexpected that can be. So we're going to talk to Jacquie Johnson today. Welcome, Jacquie.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for participating and being on Autumn is Here. So first, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm retired. I retired in 2019 from JP Morgan after 35 years there and 47 years in the workplace. And I relocated to South Carolina last year, and I love it. It's the best decision I could have ever made. Okay. Married, mother of 3, grandmother of 6.
Wow. Okay. Great. Well, see, tonight we wanted to talk about, we know how challenging it is to be a caregiver, but you were a caregiver to both of your parents. So we want to kind of talk about how did that happen for you, and what are some of the experiences that you went through? So how did it start?
Well, my mom moved with me when I moved to Brooklyn. I bought a 2-family house and moved her with me to Brooklyn. But she was independent, doing her thing. So I wasn't really caregiver to her. At that point, she was just living with me. But my dad, on the other hand, in 2002, right after 9/11, he suffered a massive heart attack followed by a stroke. He was able to be on his own for quite a few years. And then all of a sudden, he lost his balance. He lived in Harlem, and they have a lot of his block actually was very hilly. So he was unable to navigate walking up and down that block where he lived. He would fall all the time. And so I was finally able to convince him to move to Brooklyn. And he moved into my girlfriend Denise's 3-family home. And she had her first floor was available where you walk straight in off the street. That's what he needed. No steps. You walk straight in off the street. So I moved him there, and he did really, really good there for quite a few years, maybe 3 or 4 years. Then all of a sudden he started falling in that house, in that apartment. And every day I would get a call from because he had Alzheimer's. So, but he did well, as long as he took his meds. But then all of a sudden the falling started. I would get the calls from the home health aide that she couldn't get in. I'd be at work. And thank God Denise's mom was upstairs. So she would go downstairs. She had the key, and on the floor he would be. Sometimes he would have slept there all night.
Wow.
Because he couldn't get himself up. A couple of times we had to call the fire department to help get him up. And then the last straw was New Year's Eve, about 3 years before he passed away. I said, just take him to the hospital. And the hospital called and said, well, there's nothing wrong with his blood work. And I said, that's not the problem. The problem is he keeps falling. And so they said, oh, no one told me that. So the doctor finally took the test, and we discovered he had Parkinson's.
Okay.
So from there, he went to the nursing home, and we had to trick him, for lack of a better word, to tell him he was going there for rehabilitation. But we knew at that point he wasn't coming home because he couldn't live by himself.
Like, how did that impact your routine, your daily life? Like,
it got tough. It because now you're in a nursing home. You know how nursing homes are. You got to go. You got to go all the time. When he was at Janine's house, she was such a blessing because she would check on Dad for me. She lived right upstairs. So she jacked there. I gave Dad his medicine at night. She would do it because I would go over to his house every night. And she said, why are you over here? I'm like, I got to give Dad his medicine at night. He doesn't remember to take it. No, I'll do it. You don't have to come over here. I'm here. It's not like I'm not here. So she was a huge help with that. But, you're in a nursing home now. You got to go. They need to see, you have to have a presence in the nursing home so that they can properly take care of your loved one. Or you go ham on them. Once they know you go ham on them, they do the right thing for your loved one. Mm-hmm. So, I had to go. I had him in a nursing home right across the street from the church I used to go to, which was about 5 minutes from the house. So it was easy. I would get off the train sometime after work and go straight there before I went home. And your routine, your whole life changes. Mm-hmm. Your whole life changes. Even before he went to the nursing home, I had somebody to care for him. But he wanted me.
Oh, okay.
I need you to do. No, Dad, I'm paying this girl
because he trusts
to go to the grocery store. I'm paying this girl to do this stuff so that I get up at 4:30 in the morning to catch a 5:30 bus. I can't come over here after work. I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
How was it emotional for you? Wanting to be there, wanting to help him, but you had other obligations that you had to do. You had to go to work. You had to do this. You had to, the stress factor, frustration, any of that?
Yeah, it was hard because you felt like you weren't they take care of you. Mm-hmm. You know that saying where one parent can take care of 10 children, but 10 children can't take care of one parent?
Wow. Yeah.
And it's true. It's like, well, he was a breadwinner in our home. My mom was the one who actually took care of us physically, but you kind of feel like you're not doing enough. It's like there's a guilt thing that you go through. You have to say to yourself, don't do this. Don't do this to yourself. You're doing what you can do.
Right.
And be okay with it.
And be okay with it. But that takes a while. That takes a while to get to that point.
And as a decision maker for him, God, I'm getting emotional.
Yeah. Well, you did the best that you could.
But he would get mad at me for making the difficult decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They always lashed out at the person who's caring for them.
Right.
So I had to make those tough decisions, like putting him in a nursing home. I would have loved to not have to put him in there. But every day you're on the floor, sleeping on the floor at night because you can't get yourself up. It's worse knowing that than having them in the nursing home.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, well, at least they're there to give the medicine or whatever and make sure.
Right.
Because,
he didn't understand. He did not understand that at all. I put him there. How could you do this to me?
Oh.
Yeah. I went through that for about a year.
Oh, wow.
He hated me.
Wow.
I was the one he hated. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. Wow. See,
yeah.
It's tough. And they're actually scared.
They are.
They're
and then they're not the people. They don't know the people. You're no longer around familiar faces.
Yes.
It got to the point one time. He had a roommate. They had to put Daddy in a private room because he beat the roommate.
No.
And he was in a wheelchair, girl. And the roommate came into the room. Daddy grabbed him by his collar and floored him.
Oh my God.
He was really strong his upper body was really strong. And so they had to let him kind of stay in there by himself because anytime the roommate came in the room, he would tell him to get out of his room.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's hard. They're independent. They took care of themselves for so long.
Right.
Don't understand that.
And even at Denine's house, he was in his own apartment.
Right.
She would come in, she would check on him. We would take food and, stuff like that. But he was in his own space. He was looking at his football game. And I tried to have that stuff available for him in the nursing home. He had a TV, he had a telephone until he stopped answering it. They get to the point where the phone is ringing, but it's not ringing. So I'm like, Daddy, your phone is ringing. He said, oh, it is? It's like, when the Alzheimer's, it progresses. Then he got to the point where the TV was there. We're paying for cable, but they don't want to watch TV anymore because they forget they like those things,
Right.
So, but I tried to have them set up in the nursing home, like home, the things that he had available to him at home.
As comfortable as he could be.
Yeah, as comfortable as he could be. But he would call me at first in the nursing home, he knew the phone. So he would call me all day at work. Oh my God, the phone would ring and I'm like, oh no, it's Daddy. and he didn't want nothing. When you come in, it was just that he was lonely, I guess. And
right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
It was tough.
So now he eventually he passes away, and shortly
he passed away he was in a nursing home for about almost 4 years. Maybe 4 years before he actually passed away. He passed away in 2015. And by that time, he was just a shell of himself, really. The Alzheimer's had taken over. He was just kind of laying there. You would go visit him. He would look at you, but did he know who you were? Probably not. He stopped, he was nonverbal. And so he passed away April 29th of 2015. Daddy died Thursday. Mommy's birthday was Saturday. Karina was up here from North Carolina that weekend from Friday to Sunday. And Mommy's nose started bleeding Saturday night. And I'm like, I know this ain't. I'm like, all right, this is the first time.
Yes, maybe. Wow.
They went to church with me Sunday. She did good in church. We took communion first Sunday. At the end of communion, her nose started pouring. We got her in the back of the sanctuary in the alcove. Had to call an ambulance. All that.
Wow.
All of a sudden.
Wow.
She never had that before. Never had that before.
Wow. So eventually you would have to take care of her. She got, wow. And you didn't have a breather. You didn't have a break between mom and dad.
It was like, so we buried dad, but she had nosebleeds all that week. Thank God my husband was home. He was bringing her downtown Brooklyn to the doctor. I would get to work sometime at 7:30 in the morning. I would get to work 6:30 in the morning because my day started at 7. Before I can get to work good or drink my coffee, I got a call from my husband. Your mother nosebleeding. I would call the doctor. They say, bring her in. We did that for a month.
Wow.
Until they finally, she was in the doctor's office at least 2-3 times a week. Until they finally cauterized it and got it to stop bleeding.
Okay.
But I was like, what? No, it wasn't her pressure. Her pressure wasn't, because that's what I was thinking. Daddy died. Maybe her pressure was up.
Right.
They weren't together for over 30 years. So I didn't think it had anything to do with him dying. Because they had been separated for years. But it did. It affected her.
Wow.
It really did affect. And she even admitted that it affected her.
Wow. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Isn't that something? So what
and she just immediately started going down. Unbelievable.
Wow.
The things that I started to notice. Like I went upstairs one day. Wasn't too long after we took her with us down south. We had a bus because all the grandkids wanted to go. So we rented a bus. Everybody went down. She wanted to stay by herself. We didn't want her to stay by herself. Now your nose is bleeding. You can't be staying by yourself. So she finally acquiesced and she went with us south. It didn't bleed the whole time we were in the south until we came back. She started again. And I went upstairs and I said, Mommy, did you eat? And she said, no. And I said, why? She said, I don't have nothing to eat. And I said, excuse me, Mommy, you was cooking last week. I don't know how to cook. Whoa. Just that quickly.
Oh, wow.
I could not, but I mean, literally, Mommy she was cooking before Daddy died, tearing them pots up, even though she was losing her vision. Them pots, she was still rolling those pots.
Wow.
All of a sudden, she couldn't cook.
Wow. You see, you don't know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. And it does, it can be anything. It could be, any kind of sickness or illness, so it's hard to prepare for that.
Totally unprepared. Totally. And I looked up at the heavens and said, God, you can't be doing this to me. You ain't giving me no break. You're not going to give me 5 minutes between caring for him and then caring for her. You really not going to give me a minute.
Wow.
I had no break.
Wow.
I went from taking care of one parent to taking care of another.
So how did you deal with that? Like, did you eventually get some support for yourself? Did you get any kind of therapy?
No. And you know, which I didn't know about
spiritual support or anything like that?
I didn't know about that at all, that there were groups that you could go to, talk to people. I didn't have, I guess it caught me so off guard. I didn't even think about looking for support groups or stuff like that. My husband was a huge support because he wasn't working. I was able to get him to do a lot. Because mommy was upstairs, it wasn't like I had to go somewhere. So on Fridays, I would get her laundry and I would do all of our laundry. I did the grocery shopping for myself, so I would do her grocery shopping. When I cooked, I would just cook enough for her. You know, so, but then it was now you got to clean the house. I got to clean my house too. I still work. I still have to take care of my house too. And that's when I said, I have to hire someone. And she fought me tooth and nail. No, we're not hiring nobody. I don't need nobody. I said, you do, because I can't do it all. She fought me tooth and nail until one day she said, I think I need somebody. I said, thank you, Jesus. And I was able to get her someone in from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's all you need. You know, have company. They would fix her breakfast, fix her lunch, make sure she had dinner upstairs. And I would go up after work, check on her. The tough part was when I went up after work, she didn't want me to leave.
She didn't want you to leave, right.
So I would sit for maybe an hour, and now I'm tired. You know, I've been up since 4:30, and I need to eat. I need to shower. I need to rest. I got to do this again tomorrow. You got to leave already. I'm like, oh God, the guilt that goes along with that. The guilt.
Yeah. So were you able to, so you didn't touch base with anything outside to help support you, for you, emotionally?
No, I didn't. I wish I had.
Didn't? Oh, okay.
Because I became resentful.
Okay. Yeah. Sometimes that happens, you know?
Yeah.
Why me?
You have to, because you lose the time for yourself. You wind up doing work 4 days a week, and then the weekend. And I got a husband too. Don't forget, I got a husband still, and so I have to be a wife, and I have to be a daughter to someone who's now needy, who now needs the help.
Wow.
So it's like, so when do you get a chance?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hats to wear. To wear. So what did you learn anything from this experience? I know that, you know, yours came back to back, so it was kind of hard. You didn't get a chance to learn from your dad and then go automatically just go right into your mom.
Right.
So,
there was no break. The one thing I did learn is you have to stop and do what you need for yourself. You have to stop. You have to rid yourself of the guilt. Because you will lose your ever-loving mind. You really will. You will lose your mind. You have to stop and do some of the things you need to do for yourself. So I did do it. There were things that I did. So I did get to travel. I had to, but now you need babysitters. You got to make sure there's someone there now to be there when you leave, when that wasn't the case before. Right. And so, and then when I would be away, I would want to call. And I would have to make myself not call. This is your break. Right. Take the whole break, for real.
Right. But
don't call.
Right.
Whatever is going on back there, you can't do nothing about it. Anyway, they're there, let them worry about it.
Right.
That was probably the hardest part, not calling back and checking.
Did you have any regrets?
I won't say regrets, but wishes.
Wishes. Okay.
I was able to be a much better caregiver to my mother-in-law than I was to my own mom, because when my mother-in-law needed my help, I was retired.
Okay.
And when my mother needed my help, I was still working. Both parents, really.
You didn't have the time, right?
I didn't have the freedom that I had to take care of my mother-in-law, even though she was in South Carolina. When we decided to just get in the car and come down for a couple of weeks, I was just able to get up and do it.
Right, and do it. Right.
So wishes, not regrets. I think I did everything that I could for both of them, the best that I could. Wishes that I would have been in this situation that I had with my mother-in-law, with my own parents.
Okay. As far as preparing, is there something that you could say to someone else to kind of prepare for that, even though you don't know when it happens, but it's also not only a physical preparation, it's a mindset preparation. It's something that, we all know our parents are getting older. Did you have those conversations with your parents before? Did they set you up? Did they tell you, like, if something should happen, or were you prepared in that way?
The things that both of my parents definitely wanted for me to be the person who handled their finances. So I was that before both of them took ill. My dad had me as his person on his finances before I had to move him to Brooklyn. So what I wound up doing was calling all his creditors. He didn't really have that many. He had this, the phone, Con Edison, and the rent office, and told them to send everything to me. So he got nothing else in the mail. Everything was emailed to me. And so I was able to, and I just took his checkbooks and set up online accounts, and I just paid his things, because I had no idea that this is where we had gotten.
That's great, though. That's something that people don't think about, but that's something that you can do that can put you in the loop, and then you can keep up on their stuff.
Know what their bills are. That's one of the things. Know what their bills are. And if you can, get them to have your name on it so that you can call and ask questions.
Right.
Especially if you see that things are starting to change for them emotionally, mentally. Because like I said, you don't know that they're not paying their electric bill. They don't live with you.
Right.
You don't know that they're not paying their phone bill until I called and his phone was off one way. And then I went up there and I picked up the, he said, I can't get any phone calls. And I'm like, well, let's call. So we called, and they said, well, his bill hasn't been paid in however long. And I'm like, really? Wow. So I let him know. I'm like, Dad has Alzheimer's. You need to. And thank God at that time, even with the Alzheimer's, he still was alert enough to say to the people, because they need to speak to them. They just don't take your word for it.
Right.
He was able to say to them, it's okay for my daughter, Jacqueline, to inquire about my account. So I got all of that straight before he got real bad. I was living with my mom. And as a matter of fact, when she started going left, Kim, my younger sister, Kim, took over paying her bills. So I would say to anyone, especially if you lose one parent and there's one parent left, learn the things that this parent does. Get on their accounts, have them make you, when we did my father's, when we had to put my father in the nursing home and get the power of attorneys and stuff and the healthcare proxies, simultaneously we did it for my mom. So that we wouldn't get caught out there. Right. So simultaneously we did it for my mom. And you gotta be, when they start aging, you have to be more proactive. Yes. Even because they look like they're okay, sometimes they're not. And that's what happened with my mother. Because for her I can't imagine her being okay. And I lived right downstairs and not seeing it. And for her to turn that quickly, to just go left that fast. Yeah, you don't know. Sometimes you just really don't know. So I don't think you can really prepare for them to be out of it like that. But you can just be a part of their, be involved in
Be involved and be aware, so you can
before it gets to that,
right? Before it gets to
so
that,
that the transition is easy.
right.
It's no surprise. You can, I don't have to get permission. I already got permission. To help kind of save yourself a whole lot of trouble. Know where everything is. What my mother did was she did her funeral arrangement on her own, except for her coffin.
Okay.
I did it for my father when we had to put him in the nursing home. I went to the Unity Funeral Home and made his.
Wow.
Just so that this is not something that we have to be futzing around with when the time comes.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I did his. He was still at Denise's house when I did his.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just some things I don't think we wanna think of our parents as not being there. We don't want to think of our parents as needing us like that, because they've always taken care of us. But the tables turn.
Right.
And sometimes they turn faster than we want them to turn.
And that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
The tables do turn, and you don't want to be left out there with no information, nothing to
Zero.
do. And then you have to start at that point when you're panicking and when they really, really need you. So,
right. We're actually in the process of getting our things together, because now we're our parents.
Right.
So Honey and I are in the process of putting our stuff in order.
Right.
So that no one has to do any of this stuff. Yeah. We're in the process of doing that now.
Yeah. So thank you so much for the information. And that's one of the things we talk about on Autumn is Here, is being prepared, and how much we can be prepared. We can't be prepared totally, but how much we can be prepared, and certain things that we can do, like you said, funeral arrangements and things like that, which no one ever wants to do.
No one wants to do.
No one wants to do that. So, but it is more helpful if that is in place.
So if anything that you can help them do prior to it getting bad, do it. Don't assume that they're going to always be okay, because they're not. They're not. If things go the way they used to go, I mean, now parents are burying children a lot faster than before them. But if they take the natural course of things, your parent is going to go before you. And they prefer you to go before you. They don't want to bury their children.
Right.
So, have these things in place so that and for you, it's just it makes life so much easier. I wish I had known all of this stuff. I wish I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't know. So, so when you see the signs in other people, I'll say, have you ever thought about having them tested for dementia, Alzheimer's? Because you could, now I know some of the signs.
Now you recognize certain things.
Yeah, now I can recognize some of them. Right. Some of the things they do, some of the things they say, the way they act, the eating habits, everything changes. Yeah. And so did you ever have them, check for that? So you can, no, you don't want to, but get it ruled out.
Just in case. Right. Get it ruled out.
Just in case. Get it ruled out. Because I wanted them to check my mother-in-law for Parkinson's. All of a sudden, she started falling all over the place. Yeah. All of a sudden, she just couldn't keep her balance, just falling. And that's one of the things that my dad did. But she also had dementia. And so your brain stops telling you to walk. Right. So
that's
you don't pay attention to that stuff.
Also. That's a form of dementia, also Parkinson's.
Yes, that's exactly right. They go like hand in hand, because your brain stops telling you to move your foot in front of the other, and now you're on the ground.
Right.
So
exactly.
You learn that though as you go along with this stuff.
Right.
I had no idea before that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I had no idea before that.
Exactly. Wow.
And be ready to be abused from them, because they abuse their caregiver. Oh boy, do they abuse their caregiver. And you have to have a tough skin. Did I always have a tough skin? No. Sometimes I took it personal. I'm the one that's doing all this running, and this is how you're going to talk to me. This is how you're going to treat me.
You don't feel appreciated.
But then you have to come back to, do they really know what they're doing? And sometimes it's hard to get to that when you're exhausted. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why sometimes you have to have that support system, because sometimes it's just that taxing on you that, you'll lash out because you're
Right.
frustrated. You have other responsibilities and things are coming on.
Right.
Life has not stopped for you.
Right.
But thank you. This is a lot of good information. So I really, really appreciate you taking your time. And
absolutely. I hope it helps someone.
Yeah.
I don't wish this on my worst enemy, whoever that might be.
I know. Right.
This is not something that you want to do.
Mm-mm.
It's really literally something that you have to do.
You have to do.
You don't choose this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And anybody who says, well, I'll choose, you might say that until you have to do it.
Yes. That's a good point. You don't know until
you don't know until you have to do it, because you love your parents, and I'm going to do anything for my parents, and your intentions are good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your intentions are good, but once you get into that place where it's tough. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the guilt comes in, I think, because your parents wiped your vomit, they cleaned you up, when you were sick, and it was 5 of us.
Mm.
So mom was taking care of 5 of us. Me and my older sister had chickenpox at the same time. So we both scratching and digging, and she's taking care of us. And really, there's 2 of us. We really can't take care of mom.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the guilt comes in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's tough.
It's tough.
Well, thank you for being so candid about it and opening up.
Sure.
Appreciate that. And I'm sure that somebody will get something out of this and it'll help somebody. So
I hope so.
Yeah, I believe so. I just, want people to, if you think about it and you put it out there, people may start thinking about it ahead of time.
Right.
That's the thing. You may not know what to do. You may not know when it's going to happen, but if you hear it now, you think about it, and you know that there's things that you can do. There's, ask for help. There are these different points that you've made that people can use and say, okay, yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
It is okay.
Okay.
It is okay. And we have to make it okay. Mm-hmm. We have to even make it okay to be mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Without feeling guilty.
Right. Right.
Right? You have to be okay with being resentful without being guilty.
Right.
Because it's an emotion. Go through it, get to the other side, dust yourself off, get that shower, that bath, cry, and then go take care of that parent.
Right. Right.
Don't ignore it, because that's one of the things that I did. I ignored it. And it just piled up and piled up and piled up, and then I exploded.
Wow.
That's not good.
Hopefully, I'm glad that you're in a better place now.
Ooh, Jesus.
You're in a better place now.
And I miss my parents. I do. I miss my parents. I miss my mother-in-law. Do I miss what I had to do for and with them? No.
But
I don't regret. I'm on the other side. I don't regret anything that I had to do for or with them. Mm-hmm. I was glad to be able to do whatever I could do for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm sure they're appreciative of that. It may not look like that sometimes going through it.
Oh, Lord, honey child.
I'm sure they're appreciative.
Honey child.
They appreciate it. Woo. All right. Well, thank you again. And I know you have to go get your stuff together too. Now, you said you have to get your things in order.
We're doing it. We're in the process of doing it.
Too.
Yeah.
That's a good thing too. You got to get your things in order too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And that was one of the things we said. We did not want our children to have to do what we had to do to put pieces together. No. To figure things out. We didn't want them to have to do that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again. And
you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate your support on this.
Sure.
Okay.
All righty.
All right. So take care.
All righty. Bye-bye.